Hey everybody, Sarah here. So today I'm going to be starting a new series where you guys can actually kind of get to know my snakes a little bit better and kind of get to understand the lines that I have a little bit better as well. And so today I thought I would start with my very first corn snake, Flair. Before I jump in, I want to thank all the members on this channel who helped to make everything possible. You guys are amazing. If anybody else would like to become a member, you can click join under any video to do so. There are different perks based on the different level that you pick. So if you would like to know what those perks are, please check that out below. Also, thank you to Reptilings for helping to support this channel. If you use my code SarahSnake27 at checkout at reptilings.com, you will get a discount on some of this awesome food for your reptile, and it also helps support this channel in the process. I have a website, sarahsnakeshop.com, where I sell corn snakes and corn snake accessories. So please check that out if you want to see what I personally have available. I also have a morph market profile, which makes it super easy to see all the snakes that I have ready to go. So if you would like to check any of these things out, all of those links are down below. So I want to talk about my very first corn snake, Flair. If you've heard of me mention my Flair line, that means it's a snake that originated from my very first corn snake, Flair. He was a 2008 hatch, and I got him in 2009. And then in 2011, I actually started breeding corn snakes. Now, I did not breed Flair that year. I waited until 2012 to breed him. And the first female that he ever bred to was a Snow. At this point, I kind of had a pretty good grasp of genetics. And so I understood the recessive mutations and how all that worked. And I knew that Amel and Anery were two of the most common. So I thought that would be a good first female to put to him. And I was right. I also had an Anery Hurricane Motley that I bred him to this same year. So we had three different known mutations that we were testing him for that year, which was Amel, Anery, and Motley. He ended up being het for Anery and Motley, and he also turned out to be mask. Every clutch that he was siring was having mask babies pop up in it. And so we found out a few very important things about him. We learned that 1, he is a mask. 2, he is het for Anery and Motley, and 3, he's probably not het for Amel. I did not breed him again until 2015 when I decided to breed him to a ghost female that was supposed to be het for Stripe. I thought this would be a good female because in my mind I was going to definitely be getting Anerys and Anery Motleys plus mask version of these. But what we ended up getting was a mix of just sort of normals and Anerys, and so I wondered if he was even the sire of this clutch. I thought maybe the female had just retained sperm from the previous year. But it turns out those actually were his offspring, thankfully. I held back 1 female from that breeding. Her name was Pyra. In 2016, I then decided to breed him to a ghost Motley because since we didn't see any Motleys in the clutch with the ghost that was supposed to be het Stripe, I thought maybe he's not actually het Motley, and I just wanted to double check, and so breeding him to a ghost Motley. I also, of course, wanted to double check on the potential hypo het, and it just confirmed everything that we knew already, was that yes, he's het for Anery and Motley, and he's likely not het for hypo. Then in 2017, everything completely changed for this whole project. I was not even planning on having Flair in a project. To me, he was just a mask that would occasionally throw both mask and normal babies. And I didn't really care too much about breeding him, other than I just wanted to make sure I had at least one of his offspring since he was my very first corn snake. But in 2017, I acquired a granite female pretty late in the year. I was told that she was het charcoal. Didn't really care too much about that. And since she was the only female that had visual Anery, and he was the only male at that time that I had not already bred to anything else, I decided to go ahead and pair them, thinking I'll just get some masks and some Anerys like I normally do. But not only did we prove him to be het diffused with this pairing, we also proved him to be het charcoal. I held back 1 female from that breeding. Her name was Blackfire. So in 1 year, we completely changed the course of this project forever. Because now, not only did we have the Anery and Motley hets, but we also have diffused and charcoal hets. And that's kind of a lot. And so I was now on a mission to try to test Flair with any morph I could get my hand on. So in 2018, I paired him with a plasma female that was het for Anery, or she was supposed to be het for Anery. Turns out that she probably actually wasn't, just to see if lavender was in there. Turns out there's no lavender, but we did get some really nice blood reds from that. But at that time, I also paired him to his daughter, Pyra. Before I move on, I just want to mention that it is very common for reptiles to have a little bit of inbreeding, and it does not harm them in the same way that it does mammals. In the breeding community for reptiles, at least for corn snakes, we we say you can inbreed for up to 3 generations before definitely you need to outcross. So when I bred Flair to his daughter Pyra, who I had held back from 2015, I got a bunch of snakes that I was definitely not expecting. We of course got our diffused and our charcoals like I was expecting, but we also got sun-kissed, which is crazy. So I proved now that there's all these different mutations. By the time that Flair turned 10 years old, we had proven him to be a het mask and also het anery, motley, charcoal, diffused, and sun-kissed, which was insane. So now that I had a general idea of what all morphs I was working with in this line, I decided to sort of focus a little bit more. And so in 2019, I bred him to his daughter Pyra once again, and then also bred him back to Tink, who is the granite female that I had acquired a few years prior. And then in 2020, I bred Flair to 2 of his daughters, Pyra once again, and then to Blackfire. I kept 4 offspring from those 2 clutches, 2 from one clutch, 2 from the other. This was Flair's final breeding year. He unfortunately passed away shortly after breeding to those 2 females before the 2020 clutches hatched. But he is still survived in my collection by some children and grandchildren that I will list up here for you now. From Pyra, we have 2 charcoal sun-kissed females. One of them, I believe, is also a red coat, which makes her look so much darker than her sister. Absinthe is the darker one, and Tequila is the lighter girl. With Blackfire, I kept Phoenix, who is a charcoal mask, and I have Zathura, who is just a regular mask. Both of these girls were actually sold off, and then I repurchased them after they had become available by their previous owners again, especially since Flair did pass away that year. It was very important to me to get as many of those snakes back as I could. So I have 4 of his immediate daughters still, and a handful of his grandchildren. I have Bark, Cola, Pepsi, and Sprite, who were the daughters of Pyra the year after Flair passed away. I had bred Pyra to a different male who was a charcoal het for anery, and we got these amazing snakes from that. Bark and Pepsi were both old enough to breed last year since they were males, and so some of their offspring are also going to be remaining in my collection. So some of the 2023s from the Flair line that I am keeping are Arwen and Luthien, who are 2 female classics. I have Idril, who is a female sun-kissed from this project, a direct sister to Arwen. I also kept a charcoal mask named Legolas, who might be a phantom mask. The reason I kept him was because he's so light-colored, so we'll have to see down the line if he actually is hypo or not. And of course, I like to theme all of the clutches that I have, so all of those were named after elves from Lord of the Rings and that Lord of the Rings universe. I also kept 1 other sun-kissed buff girl named River, who is the daughter of Absinthe, who was also big enough to breed last year. And by the way, River's nearly twin sister, Miss C, is available. So if anybody is wanting one who looks like her, we do have 1 extra. That's going to be all for my focus on Flair video. If you like this kind of video, let me know in the comments or by liking or sharing or anything like that. All of those things really help me know what you guys really like on this channel. And if you don't want to sit there and type a whole comment, just clicking a like or clicking subscribe if you haven't already, those are things that just let me know, and you don't have to do that much work to let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in a new video soon.